Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you may be listening from. We're back here in another episode of Dugout Talk. As always, you're here with Cameron Lingle, and
Steven Gossman.
that's right, day in and day out. Today we're gonna jump back into some day of history. I know we've had a lot of stuff going on recently, but I think it's important to remember the history of the game. Kind of cherish it. I'm gonna go ahead and let Steven take this one off the bat.
All right. So, in honor of Black History Month, with it being February, 50 years ago to get today in 1971, Commissioner Bowie Kuhn announced former Negro League players will have a separate wing in the Hall of Fame. Due to the controversy, though, and this is where it gets interesting, due to the controversy the announcement causes, it is decided that inclusion in the regular Hall of Fame is more fitting and more of an honor, more fitting and more of an honor to the former Black players. A big step, I think, at the time, considering the civil rights movement had taken much of the 1960s and into the late 1950s. Major step by Major League Baseball to do something like this. So I thought this was a cool little thing, considering considering it's Black History Month this month.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Kind of a big step towards the full inclusion that Negro League players have today.
Absolutely.
Well, we both saw this, and we both talked about it right before we came on. It's something I absolutely have to share. You wouldn't, you won't believe this. So, in 1861, in front of a reported crowd of over 10,000 spectators, the champion Atlantics defeat the Charter Oak Club 36-27 in a game played on a frozen Litchfield pond in South Brooklyn. You heard that right. They ice skated. There was an ice skate baseball game. The players who were wearing ice skates were permitted to glide past the bases that they had painted on the icy surface.
Unreal.
Not only was the game 36-27, but it was played on a frozen pond. How do you pitch on ice skates?
How do you stay on your feet on ice skates like that?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've ice
I,
skated before. That takes skill. That's not an easy thing to do.
I'd like to see like some NHL players get together and try to recreate this to some extent. That'd be a sight to see right there. That's crazy. It's crazy, man. All right, we got a team to cover today. It's a team you probably wouldn't expect us to cover so late in the week, being that we go from the worst ranked team to the best ranked team, and there's only two teams left to rank. Um, it's the Miami Marlins. A lot of people didn't really expect to do much. They've been you go as far as you go back to like 2019 and prior. Basically, since the Derek Jeter led club took over ownership of the team, everyone's like, great, here he goes. He's going to tear it all down. It's going to be another 10 years of rebuild. And sure enough, it sure seemed that way from the beginning. Miami had a lot of very big losing seasons, but I don't know. I don't know if it was the 60 game season. I don't know if it was just kind of the camaraderie that the guys got from overcoming uh, their kind of childish way of exposing themselves to the COVID-19 virus, which caused them to shut down for almost 2 full weeks, maybe even 2 full weeks, but the Marlins came back. They ended up finishing with a 31-29 record. They made the postseason, and for the first time in franchise history, they did not win the World Series when they made the postseason, which is crazy to think. When you look at the Marlins, I believe I believe the only two times they've made the postseason, they won the World Series back in '97 and back in '03. Those are the only two postseason appearances in team history. I believe they were a wild card both seasons as well,
Yep.
and they went on to win the World Series. So a lot of people made some of the connections. They finished second place in their division. They had, you know, a winning record, which, you know, there are some postseason teams, I won't name any, Houston, who made the postseason with a losing record. Um, but they made the postseason, and unfortunately, they did get swept in the NLDS. It wasn't really incredibly close, um, over the Braves, but uh, looking at some of their off-season moves, it's been a relatively quiet off-season for the team. As far as losses go, Jose Urena to Detroit, Ryan Stanek to Houston, and Drew Steckenrider to Seattle. They haven't really gone out and acquired anybody of note. But I like where this team's at. You know, this team is still dedicated to rebuilding. They're still dedicated to, kind of doing it the right way. And, most importantly is that they may have rounded a corner. I don't know how far that corner is gonna go for them. I don't know if it's gonna be something where they put up a winning season potentially again, and what potentially may be a full season. They've got a lot of bright young pieces, but it'll be left to see just how high the ceiling is for this team in the immediate term.
I can't believe you threw that Houston comment in there.
What? I would never
I
slander the Ast.
I kid you.
No,
I kid you not. I was taking a sip of my coffee, and when you put that in there, I nearly spit it out all over my keyboard.
I wouldn't. No, come on.
You're not wrong
Me?
though.
Yeah.
No, I think the Marlins actually have a pretty bright future ahead of them. I was doing my research last night and kind of looking at where this team is. Um, First of all, yeah, the 60 game season definitely contributed to them making the postseason. And I'm not even going to shy away from that because I think we all know that the Phillies and even the Mets would have had better records in a full season. 60 games doesn't mean anything in my book. But I do think, considering they did make the playoffs last year, there is a sign of hope for this team. I think they are going to be a presence in that division where that's already as competitive as it is. Um, the thing with the Marlins, though, and you brought up an interesting point about how the only two times prior to last year they'd made the postseason, they ended up winning the World Series. So
Mm-hmm.
last year was the first time they lost a postseason series in their franchise history, which is pretty impressive in and of itself. It doesn't really matter how many times you've been to the
Yeah.
playoffs or not. That's really hard to do. So, um, but I think the thing here with the Marlins is they have had some good teams since their latest World Series in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of like the Mariners when we talked about the Mariners a couple weeks ago, where
Yeah.
other teams within the division have just been better at the same time. And I think what happened with the Marlins and where they are now, because they had a team for a little bit, for a couple years there during the Jose Fernandez era.
Yep.
They had a capable team of potentially making the playoffs. They were consistently in the wild card hunt until the final week of the year. Um, it's really unfortunate and really sad,
Yeah.
um, what happened, because I think the death of Jose Fernandez led this team to literally tear everything down and start over. But I actually like what Derek Jeter and ownership have done with this team. I think they've really stuck it out to where they're trying to keep it at, we're going to trade for low grade prospects, build them up in our system, and bring them up to win us a title. Um, because they're kind of doing what the Pirates are doing. They did what the Pirates are doing right now,
Yeah.
and they're building up these guys to be part of the future. And the Marlins in return have one of the best farm systems in baseball. And last year we started seeing some of those prospects come up. And now in 2021, considering it's going to be a full season, assuming nothing goes wrong at this point, this is a chance for all those prospects to prove themselves. Um, I actually like kind of where they are. I still don't really see them as a competing team in the division this year. I think it's just because other teams are better. They're gonna need everything to go right for them. Like they can't have any wrong happen
Hmm.
within the team, which in a 162 game season is nearly
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that this team does have a bright future ahead of them. And yeah, they weren't really busy this offseason, but I think considering where they are, they didn't necessarily need to be busy this offseason because I don't think anybody expected them to make the playoffs in 2020.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't even think people in their front office expected it. Um, Maybe they saw that this team could be competitive in a shortened season, but as far as making the playoffs go, I think they shocked a lot of people. Um, and give some credit where it's due to Don Mattingly. He's
Yeah.
he's actually done a pretty decent job down there. I'm not sure if he's Jeter's guy necessarily.
Hmm.
I could maybe see that this might be the last year Mattingly is at the helm for the team. I don't know. I could be wrong, but um, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe next year is when Jeter brings in the guy he wants to run the team. Kind of like what the Astros did when they got AJ Hinch in 2015. Because if the Marlins feel like next year is the year they're going to start competing, that I could easily see a managerial move happening. Um, but yeah, I like where the team is. I think it's unfortunate that the rest of the division is in a good place too. Um, but I don't imagine this team isn't going to be at least competitive um, as early as next season, if not this year again.
Yeah. They have. Well, speaking of the Astros, I was a huge Bo Porter fan, and it's a shame he hasn't gotten another managerial gig since. Um, Me and a close friend of mine were, like I said, huge Bo Porter fans. But speaking of the Marlins, they have the they have the veteran pieces in their lineup: Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Jesus Aguilar, um, even Garrett Cooper, who hasn't been in the league that long, but is kind of a veteran in and of himself at this point. Even Miguel Rojas, they have some nice veteran pieces, some nice complementary pieces. The biggest thing for them will just be to get that, that they need the big guys. They need the big name players, whether it be, not kind of like what they had with Stanton and Yelich and Ozuna. They need some guys who are ahead of these veteran complementary pieces like Dickerson and Marte. Dickerson and Marte are good players, but by no means should they be at the forefront of your lineup. They shouldn't be, the big boppers, so to speak, of your lineup. So I think it'll be interesting to see whether maybe they're active on the big shortstop free agent market that we're expected to see at the end of the season. I think given the financial situation of a lot of teams, I think there's going to be a lot of very good free agent talent on the market this coming winter, and I think that could be a good opportunity for Miami if they feel like they're done rebuilding and now is the time to strike. They could always jump out there and snag a few guys for maybe even less than market value. Um, but yeah, I like where they are now. It's a very good young team, a lot of homegrown talent, whether it be drafted talent or talent that they traded for early in their development and have developed them since then. But yeah, we'll just kind of jump into their lineup. I already mentioned Corey Dickerson and Starling Marte. I have Dickerson leading off in left field. I have Starling Marte hitting second and center field. I have Garrett Cooper as the right fielder hitting third. I have Jesus Aguilar as the first baseman hitting cleanup. Hitting fifth, I have Brian Anderson manning third base. I have Miguel Rojas at shortstop. I have John Birdie at second base, and I have Jorge Alfaro. Big fan of Alfaro doing catching duties. I kind of thought Alfaro was going to be like the next Philly catcher before they went and got JT Realmuto.
Yeah, I was a little surprised too because there was a lot of high praise for Alfaro. And so I was kind of surprised when the Phillies went and traded for Real Muto instead of
Hmm.
keeping Alfaro around. I guess at the time it made sense because they
It
were
did.
trying to make the
Yep.
postseason for the first
Win
time in
now.
7 years. So like the win now mentality made sense. And I don't think it was really a bad thing. If
No.
there was anyone out there that could have gotten JT, was probably the guy
Yeah.
that you would want to trade Alfaro for. And I think deep down it was a good trade. It was a
Hmm.
good trade off there. Um, I've got the same starters in my lineup, but different order.
Okay.
I do have Corey Dickerson leading off. I like him in the leadoff spot. I know when he first got to Tampa and they put him in the leadoff spot, I was a little shaky on that
Hmm.
because he is a power hitter, but I think he actually fares pretty well in that spot. I have Brian Anderson hitting two and playing third base. Anderson has been he's been a blessing in disguise for this team
Hmm. He
since he
has.
broke in 2018. He's actually been really good for them. I think he's kind of going to be the face of the franchise maybe as the team continues to grow and get better. And I really like what I've seen from him in the limited games I've seen him. I have Starling Marte hitting third in center field, Jesus Aguilar hitting fourth at first base, Garrett Cooper in right field batting fifth, Jorge Alfaro, the catcher, hitting sixth, Miguel Rojas, the veteran shortstop, batting seventh, John Birdie at second base batting eighth, and then the pitcher spot batting ninth. Um, I also like Garrett Cooper. I've always been a big fan of him too. I think this could be a big year for him as the team sees whether he's going to be an everyday starter or maybe a trade piece. I could also see Lewis Brinson being put in that right field spot potentially. Brinson did have a much better year last year with the club compared to his 2019 stint. Um, so I think that really the Marlins could go either way there between Brinson and um, Cooper. Brinson hit 226 last year compared to his in 2019 when he only hit 173. So I think that for both guys, it's going to be a make or break year for them. We'll see how it goes, but right now I've got Cooper in as the primary right fielder.
Mhm. Yeah. Speaking of Corey Dickerson, he kind of had like two different career changes. He was always known in the beginning of his career in Colorado. He was always kind of known as like a good on base guy. He was never really a big home run hitter. Um, he had 24 in 2014, but people weren't really sure what to make of him. He was a 300 hitter in Colorado as well, and so it was kind of a shock when he went to Tampa Bay. He kind of shelled out for the home run, so to speak. He hit 24 and 27 in his 2 years there, but he only hit 265 and he hit 245 his first year there, and he hit 282 his second year there. So a little bit of a bounce back. But it was really when he went to Pittsburgh in 2018 and his time there. And since then, he's really turned back into a contact first home run when it comes type of guy, which I think has always fit him better. Um, I know he can hit home runs, but I've always looked at him more of a he can hit 300, he can drive in 70 runs, and he'll hit 15 to 25 home runs in a good season. So yeah, I like how your lineup's set up. I have a couple guys on my bench that could be interesting pieces for them come opening day. Isan Diaz, a young infielder, he could potentially steal some starts from some other guys in that infield. Lewis Brinson, who not so long ago was one of the very highly touted prospects in baseball. He and I forget the other guy's name. Keon Broxton have both
Yeah.
kind of fallen out of the limelight a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see if Brinson can actually prove that he can hit major league talent pitching in multiple seasons. I also have Harold Ramirez and Magnarius Sierra. Magnarius, maybe. I'm not sure. I might be butchering his name. Um, Magnarius, maybe. I'm not sure. Harold Ramirez and Magnarius Sierra as another couple outfielders. Kind of a decent bench. Nothing that's going to jump out at you. And there's nothing to say that maybe Miami's offseason isn't quite done yet. Maybe they get another non-roster invite to come and potentially give these young players a run for their money. I know Harold Ramirez was kind of had a breakout season last year, and so to speak. He had a decent year, but yeah, I like where their lineup is. I like where their bench is, and I think this could be not a good offense, but certainly a decent one at best. It's not gonna they're not gonna put up runs all over the place every night, but if they can get good starting pitching and a good bullpen going, there's no reason to think they can't win some ball games with this lineup.
Yeah, I think this is an offense that you can't sleep on them going in.
Hmm.
I think they're like this as a team as a whole. You can't sleep on them because if you do, they will. I think they will surprise a lot of people if teams don't really take them seriously going in. But there's nothing that really jumps out at you as far as the offense goes. There's a lot of guys who are just super, they're good players, they're consistent players. They're not like superstar talent level exactly,
Hmm.
but they're a well-rounded team and they have a well-rounded bench too that of guys who can come in and start some games here and there as well. So um, I think it's just a balanced team overall. Nothing
Hmm.
that's like super jumps out at you like, "Ooh, look out for this guy all the
Yeah.
time," kind of thing. But guys that are like they'll keep you on your toes as a pitching staff. They'll keep you on your toes if you're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely. With that said, we'll kind of jump over to their rotation a little bit. I've got this might be, I'm not sure what your level of hype is on Sixto Sanchez, but I do have Sandy Alcantara as the number one guy for that team. Uh, as kind of he's been a little ace-ish, as I like to say. He's not not putting up phenomenal numbers, but he has been one of the more rock steady pitchers for that rotation, and one of the more rock steady pitchers for that team in general the past couple seasons that he's been up here. Um, I actually have seen Sandy Alcantara pitch in a couple minor league games back when he was still with St. Louis. He played for the local team near me, the State College Spikes, and I actually watched him pitch a game. I believe was this 2015, 2014. Would have been 2016. I watched him. But anyways, I have seen Alcantara in real life. He is actually all of 6'5". He's tall. He's lanky. And people may look at his win loss record from 2019, where he went 6-14, led the league in losses, but he had a 3.88 ERA and led the league in it tied for the league in complete game shutouts. Um, He's not going to strike out a whole bunch of guys. Career strikeout per nine of 7.3. Hit an 8.4 in his 42 innings last season. He had a 3 ERA in 7 starts. I've seen a lot to like about Sandy Alcantara. He's just been, like I said, his last 3 years that he's been with Miami have been very good for him. Coming up in the number 2 hole, I like Pablo Lopez to be in that spot. I know that he kind of took a little bit of a back seat. I know he was kind of thrown around in some potential trades last year or the year before, but I do like him moving forward. He himself had a decent year, 3.61 ERA and 11 starts. He's a bit more of a strikeout guy than what Alcantara is. He's also 6'4", so another big guy. I do like him as the number 2 guy. And then Sixto does appear. I like him as being the number 3 guy in this rotation. I think throwing throwing the ace name around with Sixto so early in his career is potentially detrimental. I've always been a fan of kind of easing a guy into that. If he shows that he's ready for it, then you're welcome to give it to him. But uh, 7 starts for Sixto last season, a 3.46 ERA. He had a couple good starts, a couple not so great starts. Um, but he did have a complete game. He had a strikeouts per nine of 7.6, 3 strikeouts per walk. He finished seventh in the Rookie of the Year voting. I do like him moving forward to be eventually their ace. But as of right now, I only have him in the number 3 hole. This is only going to be his second major league season, so we'll see what we get out of Sixto. In the number 4 hole, I have Elisier Hernandez, kind of a lesser known name. There's not a lot of people who know about him, maybe outside of Miami, but he could be someone who kind of sneaks up on a few guys. He had a good run last year in his 6 starts that he made. Prior to that, we won't really discuss it. He had an ERA over 5 each season, um, seeing about 130 innings. So Elisier Hernandez maybe turned a corner last year. Maybe it was a mirage. We won't know until we see him on the field. But I do like him in the opening day rotation. And then rounding out that opening day rotation is Trevor Rogers. And he figures to probably be a nice little innings eater for them. I don't view him as much other than that. Um, there is some potential there for him to grow. He's another tall 6'5" guy, but he struggled in his 7 starts that he made last season, finishing with an ERA just north of 6. But he did strike out a whole bunch. I believe it was 12 and a half was his K per nine, and he also had a 3.0 strikeouts per walk. So it'll be left to see what they can get out of him. He was a first round pick back in 2017. So, not to say that he's not going to be a good pitcher for them, but I think he might be one of the guys who was probably better off playing a full minor league season last year. I think if there was a minor league season, Trevor Rogers probably wouldn't be in this conversation quite yet. But I think because they got him in Major League Baseball last season, I think that maybe there's a possibility that they could look to him again to kind of, like I said, just eat up some innings, be a guy that goes out there every 5th day. I'm sure there are a couple other minor league guys who are probably going to give him a run for his money, but I do like how the rotation sets up.
The rotation is going to be what makes or breaks this team this year because they don't have, it's pretty much all young rookie talent that really hasn't pitched longer than 4 years. Alcantara is the veteran, quote unquote, in this rotation.
Yeah, yeah,
I do like Sandy Alcantara as the ace, though. He has shown some flashes of being a capable starter there. And I think you mentioned his 2019, he was 6-14 that year with a 3.88 ERA. For losing 14 games and having an ERA under 4, that just goes to show that it wasn't all his fault.
yeah.
That just also can be due to lack of offense or whatever you want to pin there. But I do like Alcantara as the ace. I also have Pablo Lopez as the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I am putting Elisar Hernandez as the number 3 for right now.
Okay.
And then Sisto Sanchez as the 4. I think Sanchez has potential in the league. He maybe could use some more time down in AAA, but considering what the Marlins have right now, I feel like this is Sanchez's time. I feel like he's going to be on the opening day roster unless if someone else jumps out and surprises the Marlins in spring training. Um, I think that this is Sanchez's time. He hasn't pitched in AAA yet in his minor league career, so we'll see how things go for him. And he didn't do too bad in a small sample size
No.
last year games, so I think this could be. I think he's ready for now, and if he needs more time to develop, they can just send him back down to AAA. As far as the number 5 spot goes, this one's kind of tricky for me. They have 3 potential guys, in my opinion, who could be in this spot, and that's Trevor Rogers, Braxton Garrett, and Nick Neidert.
Mm-hmm.
And none of these guys I feel like are ready, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
to be on the big league club. In just a small sample size of games last year, all 3 of them had ERAs north of 5. I'm not really sold on either of these guys, but I was looking on Fangraphs, and they do have a veteran by the name of Ross Detweiler that they got over the offseason. He's a
Yeah.
non-roster invitee. Um, just saying, and I make a bold prediction, but I think Detweiler is going to be in the rotation on opening day, just to start the year. I don't see him finishing the year with the team, but I think in 16 games with the White Sox last year, he had an ERA just a little north of 4 out of the bullpen. Here, let's see. Oh no, he had a 3.2 ERA last year in 16 games. I could easily see Detweiler being in the mix for a rotation spot, just until maybe someone like Rogers or Garrett or Neidert are ready to be on the big league club. But that's going to be my bold prediction for this team: is Detweiler will be in the opening day rotation to start the year.
Interesting. Yeah. How much history does Ross Detweiler have of starting?
He's been a starter and reliever in the past. Let's see here. He was a primary starter with the Nationals in 09, as well as 2011 and 2012. Yeah, he's kind of been in it. He's been in and out of the bullpen at
Mm-hmm.
times. He was a starter for the White Sox in 2019, but his numbers as a starter aren't nearly as good as they are in the bullpen, and he's always been
Mm-hmm.
an up and down guy. So he either puts up a really good year or he doesn't. But considering the Marlins are a really young rotation, having a guy like
Yeah.
Detweiler in there could be a boost for them, so then they can have time to let Rogers and Neidert and Braxton Garrett to develop a little more. So I could easily see this being a case too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Detweiler is another tall guy, and as far as the Marlins go, 4 of their 5 starting pitchers are all 6'4" or taller. So, but that I don't think that has anything to do with anything. But it is interesting to see kind of the trend towards tall pitchers in the league. We don't really see guys built like Sixto Sanchez at 6 foot. We don't really see guys like uh, like Garcia with the Yankees, who's I think he's like 5'10" or 5'11. We see a lot of 6'5". You're more likely to see a guy who's 6'6" or 6'7" than you are to see a guy who's 5'10" or 5'11" in this league, which is really interesting to see. But we will jump over to their bullpen. I like Yimi Garcia to probably have closer duties to start the year. I don't think that's a given for him, but I mean, I don't see another guy on the team who's really much more qualified than him. I like Anthony Bass to be kind of a setup guy at some point. Maybe more of a middle relief guy. That'll be left to be seen. A guy to keep an eye on for is Richard Blyer. He's always been known for a very low ERA. He's not a very hard thrower, but I think most of his career he's had an ERA under 2. Um, only one time in his career has he posted an ERA above 2.63. His rookie year with the Yankees, he posted a 1.96 ERA. I was really upset to see him go, especially to a division rival. The next 2 years, he put up ERAs of 1.99 and 1.93 with the Orioles. 2019, he did struggle with Baltimore, 5.37 ERA, but then he came right back down to earth with Miami. 2.63 ERA. Overall, a 2.16 ERA if you count in his Baltimore numbers. Richard Blyer, if there's someone who could potentially take the closing role from Yimi Garcia, or or the setup job from Anthony Bass, it would be Richard Blyer. He's a guy that I'd root for through and through. Um, but yeah, I like I like I like Blyer to be in that bullpen at some point in some place. Adam Simber's another guy to kind of keep your eye out for. Um, he recently has been with San Diego and Cleveland. He's been a nice piece for most of the bullpens that he's been a part of. And then, like we had just mentioned, Ross Detweiler, I do have him as more of a middle relief, long innings type of guy. But there is a possibility that he could take over a starting job in the rotation at some point, whether it be opening day or maybe an injury or lack of numbers that someone puts up. But I do see him probably taking over a starting job at some point. And there are a few other guys, but that's kind of like the main core of their bullpen that I like. I think a lot of the other bullpen spots that they're going to have are going to be really big, like swing spots where they're going to constantly have guys coming up and down in their train with AAA who come up, give us a few innings, head back down for more development. Someone else can come up, keep the bullpen fresh constantly, and just kind of go from there. I don't think they're too worried about putting up quality numbers. I think they're more interested in seeing what they have in some of their younger bullpen arms. So, like I said, I do expect to see a lot of guys kind of make their debuts this season for their bullpen.
Yeah, so I agree with you on Yimi Garcia. I think he is the closer going into opening day. But again, the Marlins don't have like a traditional closer right now, so it could
Mm,
be kind of
yeah.
closer by committee, see
Yeah.
who does better in spring training, because Anthony Bass I could see being a closer as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um, but I have Anthony Bass as like a setup man right now, maybe the eighth inning guy. Richard Blyer, I didn't realize Blyer was as good as
Not a
he
lot of people
is.
do.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, like I'd heard the name, but as far as actually seeing the numbers, I never paid attention to his numbers really. Um, so that surprised me to see that he's actually a lot better than he may get credit for.
Yeah,
But I've got
he's a soft tosser.
yeah, which is crazy because usually soft tossers aren't expected to be like that good
Yeah.
or put up numbers like he has. Um, I think it just means too his pitches have a lot of filthy movement on them, so
Hmm.
it's not easy to pick up. But I've got him as the seventh inning man. Adam Simber, he's another guy I've got my eye on, and James Hoyt is another guy I think is going to contribute to the bullpen quite a bit. Ross Detweiler as well. Easily, I see him being in the bullpen if he doesn't make the rotation, but I do think he'll be in the rotation to start the year. A couple younger guys I think that can make an impact on the team to start in the bullpen. One is Jordan Holloway. Jordan Holloway is the team's number 27 prospect right now. He did get a brief stint in the major leagues last year, I believe. Let me see here. Yeah, he had a brief stint, literally just one game.
Mm.
Um, but he got a little work in for the short season last year. I think he's going to play a part on the team. Zach Pop is another guy to keep an eye on as well. Pop has been brilliant in the minor leagues up to this point. He's never recorded an ERA above 2.6 so far in his since 2017. He's 24 years old. I think that considering what the Marlins have right now, Pop is going to figure to be in the equation to be a potential opening day bullpen piece. And then Jeff Brigham is another guy I think we could see in the bullpen as well. Brigham is 28. He's been up on the Marlins since 2019. Had an
Hmm.
okay rookie year last year. He only pitched in one game, didn't do great, but um, I think I think he's got a chance to be a contributor on the team again. Oh, he actually pitched a little bit in 2018 too.
Okay.
Wasn't great in 2018. 2019 was his best year up to this point, 4.46 ERA. So we'll see. I think those are a few guys to keep an eye on. And then, of course, you've got the likes of Garrett, Richards, or
Mm-hmm.
Rogers. I'm sorry, Rogers and Neidert, who can also play parts in the bullpen if they don't get starting jobs this year. So the Marlins have a pretty good stack of guys, I think. They've got a few veterans in their bullpen that they could maybe flip later
Mm-hmm.
in the year if they feel like they can get some value off these guys, or they can keep them around if they feel like they're going to be in postseason contention. But yeah, again, I think this is the bullpen's pretty well balanced, and they've got guys ready who could uh, take over full time duties as the year goes on. So we'll see how this goes for them.
Yeah, definitely a lot of potential out of their bullpen pieces, and definitely some potential out of their pitching prospects in general. Speaking of prospects, I've got my three to watch. I'll have to come up with a name. I like to do like three prospects for each team, and I kind of want to come up with like an original name that I can use. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to let me know because I'm pretty much stumped on that. But my three guys to watch. Obviously, the number one guy is Sixto Sanchez. We're gonna sit back and see what the Marlins plan on doing with him come opening day. B, how they use him in spring training, and see how he performs. It'll be interesting to see if the Marlins decide to have Sixto as an opening day starting pitcher. I think it's likely, but there's always a possibility that there were a lot of players and a lot of pitchers in general who made their debut last season, and which was really weird because most MLB teams they live and die by that MLB service time. Kind of, they kind of toy with it here and there, and they kind of push it to the limit. They'll call a guy up days after he's not eligible for a full season that year, to try to take advantage. But it is interesting to see that in a shortened season, a season where MLB service time is still technically the same. They're still getting MLB service time. To see that a lot of teams were pretty lenient about bringing up their top prospects and starting that service clock so early was interesting to see. So I think that it's likely that Sixto Sanchez is in the opening day rotation, and I think it's likely that he's going to be used as a starter all throughout spring training. Um, I don't know how they're going to I don't know how they plan to flesh him out as spring training moves along. I don't know if they're going to try to build him up or if he's already kind of built up already and they can kind of start working him into 5 or 6 inning games as we get closer to the start of the season. But I do like him to perform and perform admirably in the major league team with the Marlins. So that's kind of him. Kind of straightforward. We kind of know what he's going to do. We know where he's going to play, and we know that he's probably going to be in the major league team. The next guy I want to keep an eye out for is one of their top prospects, Jazz Chisholm. I believe I'm saying his last name right. I don't know if it's Chisholm or Chisholm.
It's Chisholm.
Chisholm. Perfect.
It's one or the other.
All right. Well, Jazz Chisholm it is. He's more than welcome to come and listen to our podcast and correct me if I'm wrong, but he'd have to make it this far. So Jazz Chisholm, he's a lefty infielder, middle infielder to be specific. He's from uh, sorry, he is played in a few minor league seasons. He got some major league experience this past season, played in 21 games. He only hit 161, wasn't really, he kind of looked out of place. He's one of the guys that I thought it was interesting to see a team start his MLB service time so soon. I figured that even without a minor league season being played, that he would probably just be kept on hold at least until next year, which is now going to be this year. Um, but yeah, they liked him enough to give him some time. They gave him some everyday starts. Like I said, he played 21 games. But the jury's still kind of out on him. He's never been a big hitter in his minor league career. I believe he only has like a 250 some batting average in the minor leagues. So it'll be interesting to see if his bat can develop. I know he's been a very good slick middle infielder, shortstop, second base type of guy. Very good with the glove, very good with the arm. He rates really high in his fielding aspects, but it'll be interesting to see if his back can catch up to him. I don't expect Jazz Chisholm to be anyone who's going to hit home runs. I wouldn't look for that. I would, however, look for him to be uh, a 250, 260 maybe hitter in the majors, steal some bags, and provide some really good infield defense. But as of right now, I think it's very likely he probably starts the season in Double A, maybe Triple A, if he has a good spring. I think he still needs plenty of seasoning. I do believe it's possible that we will see him in the major leagues at some point in time this year, but I don't see him being on the opening day roster to start. The next guy I want to discuss is actually someone who is fairly local to me. Their prospect that they took in 2019, JJ Bleday.
Hmm.
He's actually from Danville, Pennsylvania, which is only about an hour and a half from where I live. I actually didn't know that he was from Danville. Danville is kind of like the nearest big hospital type of town that we have. One of the bigger hospitals in the state is in Danville. My mom had all my younger siblings in Danville, so I spent plenty of time driving to and from Danville. I've been there, at the McDonald's that's right across the street from it. So it's cool to see another local guy. I really haven't had someone this local, um, this close to being a major league player since shucks, what was it? Eric Milton, I
Oh,
believe. He was from Bellefonte, which is only about 20 minutes from my house.
okay.
Um, So, but yeah, now that I'm done fanboying over a minor league prospect, he has played very minimally in the minor leagues. He's only put up 38 career games, 257 hitter in his first season. But what's really interesting is his final year in college at Vandy. He put up 71 games. He had 27 home runs, drove in 72 RBIs, and had 82 runs. The man was off the charts. And what's really interesting and what I'm looking for the most is both Blede and Chisholm are left-handed hitters, and the Marlins lineup, as it stacks up right now, only has one left-handed hitter in it. I think it's really interesting to see. I'm not saying that they're going to call these guys up right away, but it will be interesting to see if maybe some necessity calls for a guy like Jazz Chisholm to get called up sooner than expected. JJ Blede, it'll be interesting to see how he performs in his first full minor league season. I'm rooting for the guy. I think he plays the game the right way, carries himself professionally, and most importantly, he's got some talent. He can ball, and I think he can ball with the best of them. The home runs were kind of a sudden appearance in his collegiate career. Up until that point, he had only hit five in a single season, and that was summer ball in 2018. But yeah, so to go from he had what 5, 9, 13 career home runs in his NCAA career, and then all of a sudden hits 27. So I don't know if you want to talk about a guy growing into his 6'3" frame a little more or what, but he really blew up the stage in Vandy in 2019. He played a little bit with Jupiter, their high A team, which is it's really interesting to see a guy, even though he was he played 3 full NCAA seasons. It is still interesting to see a guy start out in high A ball. Usually you see guys start out rookie ball, maybe low A, but no, he started out in high A. So I think it's very possible that you could see JJ Blede as high up as Triple A this season if he can blow up. It'll be interesting to see if they start him out in high A or Double A. I think that'll determine where he ends up. I think if they start him back in high A and he continues hitting like he did in his final Vandy season, I think it's very possible. Not I will disclose that like NCAA pitching talent is, probably a step down from minor league pitching talent, but still, if he can transfer his bat from where it was in Vandy, and still continue to be a good hitter, I think it's very possible that he could see, like I said, as high as AAA this season, and it's very possible he could see MLB time as early as next year. It's really cool to see guys who can get drafted and then make their debuts uh, very shortly after. I know the White Sox just had a guy that they drafted. I forget his name. He was in the bullpen, and they drafted him, I believe, in 2020, and then he made his appearance. He made his major league debut that same season. Let me see here. Uh, Garrett Crockett, I believe. No, yes, Garrett. Uh, I don't know if it's Crochet. Sorry, Garrett Crochet. He was drafted with the 11th pick in the first round last year, and then made his appearance last year, his major league debut. So I think it's very possible that JJ Bleday could see major league time as early as 2022, and I think he could see high minor league time as early as this year. So now I really like. Obviously, there are a lot more guys in their farm system. Maybe guys who have brighter future than those two that I just named, Chisholm and Blede. But those are two guys that I would look out for because they're two guys who are right there at the door, ready to knock.
Yeah, I think I was looking at Blede too. I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe rise up in the minors, and then maybe in 2022 he's on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One guy, a couple guys I got my eye on. The first one is the number 6 prospect, Edward Cabrera. And he had a pretty big jump in 2019. He went from being a mediocre minor leaguer to posting a 2.23 ERA across 2 levels in 2019. I would be on the lookout for him, kind of see how things go. Um, Considering there's going to be if there is a minor league season this year,
Mm-hmm.
he could be on the rise for the team. Another pitcher is Paul Campbell. Campbell is one of their top pitching prospects right now. He's as consistent as they come. He had a little bit of a rough year in 2019 across 2 levels of minor league ball, but in Double A he did perform pretty well. 8-4 with a 3.36 ERA. That's over there. So I'd be on the lookout for Campbell. I think he could easily be a part of the Marlins this year. Um, Probably not on opening day roster, but I think as the year goes on, he'll definitely play a part and be on the roster. And then the other guy, Griffin Conine, he is the son of Mr. Marlin himself, Jeff Conine. He's currently in Double A right now. He maybe I think it's possible he could see some time. He's also a left-handed hitter, and you made a good point how Corey Dickerson's the only lefty in that lineup right now. Not saying Conine's going to be on the opening day roster, but I think as the year goes on, if he puts up a good spring training, I think he probably is going to get a spring invite. If he puts up a good spring training and just continues to play consistently well across minor league ball this year, I could easily see Conine being on the team. Um, I always like seeing sons of major leaguers getting shots to perform and actually make an impact on teams. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for Griffin. I hope to see him on the team at some point this year, if not this year, next year.
Yeah, absolutely. There seems to be a lot more of these, a lot more of these major league players, kids who are making their debut now more than ever. There's a lot of juniors, and there's a lot of just sons in general of former major league players who were, like I s- like you said, making their debuts and playing big key roles. I mean, you look at Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the faces of baseball now, and he's on the cover of Major League MLB The Show 21. So yeah, a lot of young guys who are sons of, maybe guys you grew up watching in the '90s or early 2000s, who are starting to play a big role in the major leagues.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll go over kind of what we expect to see out of the Marlins this year. I think anything between, I'll say, 70 and 84 wins would be a plus for the Marlins. 70 is on the low side, 84 is on a high side, but I like anywhere between 70 and 84 wins for them. Pretty straightforward team. They're not going to blow anyone's socks off. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to surprise anyone again. Um, Especially if we play a full season. I don't see that there's a chance that they can really compete with a division that's very competitive at this point.
I'll say their floor is 65, ceiling 73. I don't expect much from them, to be honest. I know that they do have a bright future ahead. I think they can surprise some people, but they're not. I don't expect them to be even in the wild card mix.
Hmm.
The NL East is just way too competitive. And in a full season, I don't expect this team to go very far. But I do think that we're going to see glimpses of what this team has in store in the near future. So there will be some high points, but I think there's definitely going to be some lows because they've got a lot of rookies on
Hmm.
the team this year. So I'll say 65 to 73 wins is probably more ideal for what they can accomplish.
Yeah, that's very possible. Um, it's a young team. They've still got a long road to get where they want to go. A World Series championship. They've got a long road to go, but they've defied odds in the past. Literally all three times. The only three times this team has ever made the postseason, it was odds defying. So, if there's one team that can beat the odds, it might be the Miami Marlins.
Very true. I can get behind that.
Yeah. All right. With that said, I think this concludes another episode of Dugout Talk. Um, be sure to give us some follows online. Steven will drop you the names here in a second, but uh, just I do want to reiterate how appreciative I am of how appreciative we are of you guys giving your support, even just looking at our stuff, not even liking or commenting or anything like that, just looking at it, giving us your time of day. Appreciate it, and we're gonna continue doing it for you guys.
Yeah, YouTube channel is Dugout Talk. Facebook page is Dugout Talk. The username on that Facebook page is at Real Dugout Talk, all lowercase. Twitter handle is at Dugout Talk 1. We're gonna wrap up the NL East tomorrow with the Atlanta Braves, who have won the division the last 3 years. We'll also give our standings predictions on that. Again, thank you guys for listening to us and tuning in and spending a little part of your day with us. We really appreciate you all. And be sure to give us those follows and those likes, and just share our stuff with anyone you can think of. We definitely appreciate the support up to this point.
Absolutely. All right, that wraps it up. So as always, you'll be here with myself, Cameron Lingle, and my great colleague.
Steven Gossman.
Yep. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow.
See you guys.